Hi and welcome to Leitrim Daily. Now today's guest first caught my attention as a youngster playing junior football in the county when he was the best player on the field. Now what was unique about that, probably, because it doesn't sound that unique on the face of it, but to a 17-year-old, when you're playing against grown men, the last person you expect to be the best player on the field is the guy who's almost touching 60 at the time. Eamonn McGowan of Allen Gaels. I think everyone will know exactly who I'm talking about. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Breifne. Thank you.
Eamonn, football has played a huge part in your life, and you probably don't remember that day because you've played so many football matches over the years, but what age were you when you retired from playing football?
The last game I didn't play a full game, but I played a second half due to circumstances. If you didn't field 15 at the start of a second half in a league match or a champion, you had to forfeit the game. And we were actually playing Aughawillan in the Division 3 game, and we only had 14 players. So sooner than concede the game, I put a jersey on. I went on for the second half, and I was just gone 65.
Wow, that's unbelievable. You probably scored about 2-1 and won the game for them.
No. I scored 3 points, but anyway.
Yeah, I kind of knew that was going to come.
I won't mention who I was marking.
Let's rewind a little bit, a couple of decades back, and let's talk about growing up in Drumshanbo and the effect that, I suppose, a Leitrim upbringing had on you back in your early years.
Yeah, well, football was everything in our house at that time when I was young with my brother Tony. And my father was obsessed with football. No matter where there was a game, we were into the car and gone. And when the football season, the Gaelic season finished, then every second Sunday it was down to the Showgrounds. So that was the way it was. And in actual fact, them times we didn't have a regular pitch at all. Every year we seemed to be going to a different field to play football. But that didn't stop us. At the same time, everybody was committed enough to do that, and off we went, whether we cycled or walked or whatever. That's what we done.
Where are some of those fields now, and do they bring back memories when you drive by them?
Those fields, well, no, there was a good few of them in Breifne. There was, we used to call it Highlands Field. That was up the hilly road, as we call it. Then further up the hilly road, up beside where a good friend is living now, up beside Sean Lynch's house, it was Aughawillan was the name of the land we played there. Then we played in Convis Field on the Carrick Road. Then we played in the Convent Field, which was under the railway station at the time. And then I think we played 2 matches in a field out the Church Road, Price's Field out that way.
So you were the travelling football team?
We were, yeah. We were like... the
Harlem Globetrotters of Drumshanbo.
Exactly like that, yeah.
So
then in the 60s, then I think when most of these people are passed on now, Packy Joe Reynolds and Paddy Hestlin and people like that, they decided it was time we got a home, like in other words. So they purchased the field that we're actually in now at the moment. So it was developed into different stages into the ground it is now. So.
And they were happy enough with that hill, were they?
Yeah. There was a lot of work in it because there was a lot of bulldozing at that time and even blasting because there was a lot of rock just to get it levelled. But they persisted and they kept going and they got it done.
What did it mean to a youngster growing up in Allen Gaels or in Drumshanbo at the time to have that home that you knew you could train in, that you could play games in, that it really just it probably became your second home in a football madhouse? Well,
it did, yeah. It was, I mean, like I say, we were just, every year we didn't know where we were going to go, and in fairness to the people in charge, they persisted and got places for us, they didn't just let it die on us, they kept that thing going. But in the 50s and them times, I didn't play underage football with Drumshanbo. We didn't have underage. I played, believe it or not. A lot of people would be surprised that I played my minor football with Carrick. So they would have been our big rivals in years to come, but that's who I started my minor football with.
And you don't have any scars from the jersey spontaneously combusting on your back or anything like that, no?
No, I didn't. I was getting a game of football.
Yeah, you don't mind when you're that age, you just want to play.
Yeah.
So what would be your happiest memories as a child playing football with Carrick at the time?
Well, fortunately enough, we won a minor league with Carrick, so that was the first time I won anything as regards winning. So that would be standing out a good bit now.
In terms of non-football activities around Drumshanbo, what was life in Drumshanbo like in the 1950s?
It was like I'd say most towns, small towns. We in the latter stages of the 50s, we only got the electricity into the town. Like there was a local man called Lairds was the name of the people, and they produced electricity for the town itself at the time. So we weren't that badly off. Only the lights would go out at a certain time at night. But then the rural thing came in then. But we know, you done what youngsters done them days. You went out and you played, and of course there wouldn't be as much activity as regards traffic or things like that. You had a little bit more scope. You could play up and down on the street, and we'd play soccer on the street or play football, anything at all to play.
Was soccer frowned upon at the time by the guys running the GAA?
No, not really. No.
That all kind of came later, did it?
Yeah. No, as long as you were active, that was probably the main thing,
Let's talk about the town and how it's developed, and specifically the football team, because you played at St. Francis, and then tell us how Allen Gaels came into existence in the late 60s.
Well, we were St. Francis in the 60s, and we won a junior championship in 63, and like I say, I mentioned his name a while ago. Sean Lynch he was from Dingle and Kerry. He arrived into our territory in the late 62, and everybody assumed once he was from Kerry he had to be a good footballer, which he was, as it turned out. But he was appointed captain of us in the 63, and he just led by example. He was totally committed to St. Francis at the time, I'll give you one instance. Now, we were at that time the championship was run north-south Leitrim. There was South Championship and a North Championship, and then the two winners met in the final. And we were in the semi-final of the South Championship, and Kerry were playing in Croke Park the same day. Sean had actually gone to Dublin for the weekend, so everybody was in the horrors. Would he arrive in Ballinamore or would he not arrive in Ballinamore? And nobody was even getting out of the cars, waiting to see what was going to happen. And next thing, suddenly somebody said, "Here he's coming." And Sean arrived out from Ballinamore, so it just showed the loyalty he had to us at the time. So
he missed the Kerry game.
He missed the Kerry game, yeah.
That's a big commitment for a Kerry
man.
It
was, yeah.
Absolutely. In terms of the club, then, Allen Gaels came into existence in 69, I believe.
69, we amalgamated with Ballinamore, yeah.
So, interestingly, because now Allen Gaels is the Drumshanbo club and St. Francis in women's football is the two amalgamation. It actually originated the other way around, where St. Francis was Drumshanbo and Ballinamore came into it to make it Allen Gaels. When did that amalgamation break up and Ballinamore go back on their own? And why did you keep the name?
Well, we kept the name because we didn't think there was any point in changing back again, that we were basically known then as Allen Gaels, so I don't know whether the ins and outs, whether there was something to do with the executive side of it or the rule part of it or whatever, but we didn't bother going back to St. Francis. We stayed as we were as Allen Gaels.
Now, in your house, you would have been the football player, the coach, and you would have continued on that vein the whole way through your career. Tony would have been the administrator, or at least would have become better known for his administrator. Who was the better footballer, or was there much competition in your eyes?
There was loads of competition, all right, yeah, loads of competition. Tony was very good. He was as good, every bit as good as me now, he was. Yeah.
I have to give him his credit for that too.
That's a diplomatic answer for you.
Absolutely. Let's talk ladies football. When did that evolve, or was that later in your career?
It was in the, I think in the early to mid-80s, ladies football, Leitrim took over.
Because at the time ladies football was brand new. It only really became an organisation or a sport that was played competitively in the late 70s. So this was brand new, and Leitrim were one of the kingpins at the time in the country.
We were, yeah, because fortunately at the time, it actually started, as far as I can remember now, I'm open to correction, but there was a man in Ballinamore, they ran a festival in Ballinamore, and ladies football was just starting, and he organised a tournament for the festival. And teams came, that I don't know who he got, but I know he got Leitrim without a team, and then other teams played. And I remember the very first game we actually played as Leitrim. It was in our own pitch in Drumshanbo. This is my recollection of the first game I can remember. And we played Roscommon, who were after winning the minor All-Ireland ladies. And that was our first competitive game that time now that I can remember.
What are your memories of, I think it's 84, because that's the year Leitrim actually reached a senior All-Ireland final against Kerry. Because we talk about Leitrim not winning anything over the years, and to be fair, in most years it's pretty accurate, but a Leitrim team have played in a senior All-Ireland final against Kerry. What's your memory of that day?
Well, it was elation and disappointment. Elation first because we knew we had won the game. And then disappointment then because the referee had decided that it was a draw. So even when the game was over and he blew the final whistle, the Kerry girls were congratulating our girls on the win in the game, you know. But what actually happened, as far as we know, was that when we scored, he put our score down on the Kerry side. That made whatever, instead of winning by 2, it ended up a draw, you know. So, and then unfortunately, that game was played in the old Salt Hill Stadium that time. But unfortunately then in the replay, we played it down somewhere in Laois. I think we lost by 2 points in the replay. So.
And that Kerry team went on to win 9 All-Irelands in a row.
Yeah, they had an exceptionally team, the good with that team that time.
Could it have worked the other way around? Had we won that game, would Leitrim have won a couple of All-Irelands in a row? Well, that confidence it built?
I would say it's hard to say we would have, like, you know, but the possibility is that we could have. Because the what would I put it, the psychological effect that could be beating the likes of Kerry, and one of the best. They were very strong even before that, like they were the team to beat at the time, like, you know. And the fact that we had beaten them would have been a huge moral boost and a huge confidence boost for the girls.
What was the mood in the camp like? Who was on that team, and maybe refresh our memories with a bit of some of the names?
Oh God.
I know it's nearly 40 years ago.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I know Mary and Deirdre Quinn would have been on that team.
Well,
right?
yeah, Deirdre probably, but there was it's very hard to remember them back that far now, to be honest with you.
Not to worry.
Yeah.
4 years later...
Because if I say a name, I'd probably miss someone else that I should have known, and, you know, so I'd be better off not.
Say nothing.
Yeah, say nothing.
4 years later, Leitrim were back, I suppose, the first time in Croke Park in the junior championship. So we dropped out of the senior grade, but we came back in what was, I think, the first play of the junior championship that year.
Yeah, we a lot of them girls then, like I say, if we had to win that game against Kerry, or which we did win, but I've gotten the result we needed at the time, the confidence that a lot of them girls then decided, well, that's it, you know, we put in a good shift and we're going to call it a day. So we were regraded down to junior, so we had an early start and build again then, you know.
So you were the manager of this team the whole way through this, right?
Yeah.
And how much did you know, coming out to say the 87 championship, what was the plan and what was the mood in the camp ahead of 88? Can you remember?
Well, the mood in the camp was that we knew we had the basis of a very good team, because there was some exceptionally good girls and good footballers, and there was absolute total commitment from them girls. You know, when you see modern day things, the way things are now, that, you know, you see county teams and all this flashy gear and everything, them girls got absolutely. I think we got, if my memory serves me right, the night before the All-Ireland we stayed in Barry's Hotel in Dublin, and the Leitrim People's Association invited us to a meal in the Ashling Hotel on the Saturday night, and they presented us with tracksuits that night, and that's what the girls got that time.
Whereas now you nearly get the tracksuit just for showing up at training.
Well, more or less, yeah. And them girls, like, there was no bus collecting them. And, you know, the hitch lifts, they got their parents to bring them. And I'm not saying that I was manager at the time, but there was times when we'd finished training, we used to train mostly in Cloone, and I'd end up in Glenfarne that night, leaving off players home, you know.
I think people forget how the origins of these sports, in terms of the commitment that was put in by people like yourself and those girls and their parents and family and friends, just to put a team on the pitch on a Sunday. Oh
yeah, it was phenomenal, and the commitment them girls put in, phenomenal. you know.
The actual final itself, 88, because now I know our hurlers have played in Croke Park in the last couple of years twice. Our footballers were there this year. The girls have played a couple of times there. That would have been a pretty unique experience, though, because I don't think we'd played in Croke Park since, I might be right in saying since 1927, to actually play a game in Croke Park as a Leitrim team. Was that the first time?
Well, the minors would have been in it in 56 now.
Okay.
And we were in the league in it in 57, I think it was 57, 58. The seniors played Derry in a league final in it, or some. Anyway, we played Derry there in some of them years anyway. But no.
But the fact that you can list off the particular incidents we were there shows how.
Oh yeah, even you're going back to when we were young, that was one thing we never missed, was an All-Ireland final. You know, no matter what sort of transport my father got, we were into the car and away you go. Often up at 6:30 on a Sunday morning heading for Croke Park, but we went to Croke Park.
So back to 88, the Leitrim girls, what do you remember of the day itself?
We stayed in Barry's Hotel overnight, and I think Pascal, in fairness, was involved with Barry's, and he got us what would you call a deal for the night and stay in Barry's. And naturally enough, the girls were all very excited, and you know it was. And we actually went out and trained after going up to Dublin on the Saturday. We went out to the Phoenix Park for a run around, or a bit of a loosen her out of it. And one girl Martina ended up with a black eye.
Did she run into a deer?
No. They were that competitive. There was no standing back for it. If it was there to be won, we were going to win it type of attitude, They were brilliant girls, no?
And the final itself, going out and taking the field in the stadium, was there much of a crowd there for the ladies' final at the time?
To be straight with you, Breifne, I don't remember anything about the crowd or the thing. All I was focused on was making sure I could get the girls in the right frame of mind and do the things we were doing, And I focused on that more. I mean, people tell me that the crowd, actually, PJ Carr was over Leitrim, the seniors at the time, and they were on their way to play a challenge game, and they went to Croke Park to support us, which was great, And people told me they were all singing Lovely Leitrim, but I never heard a bit of it.
You just blocked it all out other than the game. What was the feeling at the final whistle? You've just won an All-Ireland Championship. It doesn't happen that often in this part of the world. Was it a sense of relief? Was it a sense of elation, or somewhere between the two?
Well, I suppose somewhere between the two, but mostly elation. I was delighted. Not for just myself, but for the girls. It was, like I said, the commitment them girls put in was something else, really was, And we played, it was London we were playing. Actually, there was a girl from my hometown in Drumshanbo was actually playing with London that day. And then there was some former players that we had played against that were playing with Roscommon, played with Cavan. And we kind of knew their bit of form, so we designated one or two different players to pick them, Mary Quinn especially to pick this other girl from Roscommon. And Mary had a ferocious game, she had a tremendous game that day. Then Anne-Marie was playing corner forward. Anne-Marie, I think, was not disclosing your age, Anne-Marie.
It's Anne-Marie Cox, of course.
Yeah, well, she was known to us that time as well.
Yeah, she was a well under 16.
She was
14 or 15 years of age at the time.
Yeah. And she was brilliant, though. Gee, any slight chance of a score, and she was capable of taking it,
Which she did probably for 20 years after it as well.
She did, yeah.
But Maeve Quinn also would have been a star of that team.
Oh, yeah.
She was maybe 16, 17, possibly 18 at the time, just breaking into the Leitrim team. But that Leitrim team was full of all-stars. There was a lot of all-stars in that team.
There was. Maeve had a great partner in the middle of the field, and Mary McDermott from Glenfarne, she had a ferocious engine on her Mary. She could get up and down the field, you could talk about each individual player and what they were able to do, and the way everything gelled as one, which is, the way they really work for one another,
In terms of the next 10 years of your sporting career with both Leitrim and Allen Gaels, in terms of both on the sideline and also watching on, it must have been, for someone who'd watched Leitrim and Drumshanbo probably for so long, to see senior championships coming to Drumshanbo, to see Connacht championships coming to Leitrim, an under-21 championship, a minor championship, all coming back to the county over the next 10 years up to 1998. How much did you appreciate that decade of your club and the county's history?
Well, at the time you were so engrossed and involved in it, you just didn't think of things like that. But when your career comes to an end, you look back, you say, it was great to be involved in that and great to be involved in that. And I was lucky to be involved with some great people in Leitrim at the time. Like, I was very involved with Michael McGowan from Leitrim Gaels. We won a Father Manning competition. I was a selector with Michael. I was a selector with him when we won the under-21. And then I managed Leitrim myself for a couple of years, and we got promotion the first year, Leitrim Senior Men's. And then into club, then I went back to club, and I managed, I trained the club in 91 when we won our first senior title. And I played in 87 and 89, we won the junior and intermediate. I was able to participate that way and play a little part in that. And then another man that has passed to his eternal reward, Frank McGowan, took over manager then in the 90s, and I was a selector with Frank. And then Frank stepped down in 96, and I took over as manager in 96, and was fortunate enough to have, again, no more than the girls in 88, a tremendous bunch of lads in 96, and we won back-to-back titles, 96, 97. What
year was or am I imagining things, was there a Connacht Club Championship final there as well?
There was in the 96 Connacht Club, yeah. Unfortunately, we lost in the Connacht final to Corofin by 4 points, but, a little bit of luck that day, we could have sneaked it, but the unfortunate part was a couple of our players were injured, which we had lost, which made a huge difference to us on the day.
In terms of the Connacht Club Championship, because that's a competition that maybe until this year really we haven't really performed well in as a county collectively. Our teams almost seem to be happy with just having won the county championship, and they celebrate a bit maybe too vigorously. How important was that to that group of players at the time? Because a lot of those would have been in that Leitrim team in the early 90s that were just winning all around them.
Oh yeah, you had Parry Kenny and Owen Morden and them boys, and Garrett McQueenie and Martin, my nephew, and that was an exceptional bunch of players though. They were, when I say exceptional bunch of players, as regards commitment, I could tell you a story about a lad that was married, and his wife organised a weekend away in Spain, and the first question he asked her, did you check was there a match on Sunday?
Mm-hmm. How did that go down at home?
Yeah, and in actual fact, we did have a match on the Sunday, but he got an early flight to be home on time for it. I don't know what any of the modern day boys do things like that.
I don't think they'd be let.
Well,
I think.
And I remember who was it? I was talking to some of the lads on the '94 team that when John O'Mahony was involved, and I heard the story with them talking about commitment, and some of them said, well, they had to go to a wedding on Saturday. That there mightn't be. John O'Mahony, this is what I have been told, said, well, that's fine. He says, go to the important part, go to the church.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, So I don't know, can you imagine now saying that to some fella now?
Yeah. No, absolutely. He'd be looking and going, but that's not the important part. But
yeah,
but it actually is. It's just the whole point of why they're going to the wedding.
Get your priorities right if you want to win anything, yeah.
In terms of maybe some of the regrets or some of the disappointments over the years, what have been the low points of following Leitrim football from a personal point of view as well as the sporting end of things?
Oh God, the low points, there's a fair few of them when you go back to kind of championship matches getting well beaten. I don't know, many years in a row we were beaten in the 60s in the kind of final. It was 3 or 4 years in a row losing them. Like I thought, we're never going to win one. Something probably the poor Mayo people are saying to themselves now about the winning the All Ireland. They've been just there knocking on the door and so close and not being able to get across the line. All them losses in the 60s, it was heartbreaking, all right. But then the joy of 94 wiped that away, really.
So one victory really does make up for decades of defeats. Yeah. In terms of, I suppose, the personalities you've been involved in the sport through the years, who would be the standout personalities? Obviously your contribution is huge. Your brother Tony's contribution both to club and county, he was the chairman during that period in 1994. Who are the main people that you would have been I suppose, involved with? You mentioned Michael McGowan, of course, as well.
Yeah, well, when I was involved with the Leitrim senior men's team now, and a lot of people, I don't know why they were surprised, but a man, unfortunately, another man that has gone to his eternal rest is, we were great rivals on the line. Like, you know, it'd be dog eat dog sort of an attitude on the line, because both of us wanted our own teams to win. But I had the height of respect for, because he was a fierce, knowledgeable man in football, and was Patsy Cooking.
St Mary's, obviously.
Yeah.
Brendan's father.
Yeah. You know, you can have your rivalries on the line, but Patsy was a tremendous brain for football, and a great, you know, he could see things other people couldn't see. And he was the first man I went for when I was asked to be manager of the Leitrim team. The other man that was with me that time then was a man, he was big into KTEL records at the time. I don't know, you probably know him, Brendan Harvey from Aughawillan. He was based in Dublin, so he came on board to look after the Dublin-based players sort of thing. I think he followed on. I think he was with, I don't know, was he with John O'Mahony after as well, but anyway. No, but Patsy to me was a brilliant man.
Now, we had a whole series of questions I wanted to ask you about growing up in Drumshanbo. We just kind of run out of time to ask you all of that sort of stuff. But I do want to talk to you before we finish up. It's not about football, but it's about sport. And every now and again, I'd be driving from between Drumshanbo and Carrick or wherever, and I'd see out on the bike. Are you still cycling?
Yeah, still cycling, yeah. I'm not out this weather at the minute now, to be honest with you. But if I don't go out on the bike, I usually go up to the gym in the clubhouse. We have a great clubhouse up there, a great fitted out gym. So I try to go out about 3 times a week on the bike, you know.
And you've done some pretty big adventures on the bike. I know you're involved with the Handicapped Children's Pilgrimage Trust that do a biannual cycle every 2 years to Lourdes, and you've done that multiple times. Yeah,
I done the first one in '86. Yeah, and I done it every 2. It's every 2 years, that is now. You probably know that because your dad is involved in that. And another good friend of ours who can rope you into anything and con you into anything is Seamus Regan in Leitrim Village. So, but I missed 2, but I didn't do the last 2. I said I've done. I think it was 14 I've done. So.
But that's, like, I suppose even just down to the funds that you would have raised yourself over the years will be in the tens of thousands of euros on that. But when you collectively group together the group that you're probably been a huge part of keeping that group together over the years, you could be looking at hundreds of thousands of euros to bring disabled kids to Lourdes every 2 years. Yeah,
the first year we done it, there was 12 of us done it. You know, Mickey Martin, who got due recognition this year as the Hall of Fame award thing. Mickey and I and Seamus, we started the first cycle actually from the clock in Carrick. That's where we had to start, like. So then there was different ways. You went to Rosslare, you got to go to Sherbrooke, and then over the years more and more people got to know about it. And from the first year we done it with 12, the last time I done it there was 136. So, and each of us then have to raise X amount of money, and then we all pay our own way as well, like, you know. So it's a week, but it's a great week. Like, brilliant week.
Now you're starting to talk nearly in the millions that you've raised over the years from that initiative over the last 30 or so years. So fair play to all of the things you've done for all the communities you're involved in, whether it's the HCPT or I suppose the one you're probably more well known for, which would be football in the county, whether it's Allen Gaels or Leitrim GAA. Well, listen, Eamonn, thank you so much for coming in and having a chat with us. The very best wishes to you and your family over the Christmas period. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you about whatever's happening in the football world into the next year as well.
Okay, Breifne, you're welcome.